All right, for number one, the ratio of cats to dogs at a kennel is 38 to 3. If there's 369 pets, how many of those are dogs? So we have cats to dogs to total. So then we know our cats are 38, the dogs are 3, and we know 38 plus 3 is 41. And then they gave us, we have so many pets, and that's our total has to go under our total, 369. And then we have our, how many are dogs? That's going to be my x. So if I were to go ahead and make our proportion, we have 3 over x is equal to 41 over 369. And then we cross multiply. Now when you're cross multiplying, I would multiply 369 times 3 off on the side. And then you will get, we have 41x is equal to 1,107. And also divided by 41 after that, and do that number on the side as well. So we have x equals, it's going to give us 27 dogs. 27. It says how many are dogs. So do the work by multiplying these and also dividing by 41, some are off on the side. Okay, for number 2. So we're looking for, I would find the y value first. So if I set y over 7, it's going to be equal to 4 over 6, which is going to give us 6y is equal to 2 times 4 is 28. And then it says to have your answer an improper fraction if it is a fraction. So when I divide it by 6, all I have to do is simplify this guy over here, which means I have 14 over 3, and that's all you need. If you want to make it into a mixed fraction, go for it, but you don't have to. For the x value, I'm going to actually highlight something. So for the x value, it'll be 4 over x is equal to the whole thing over that one. Or you can choose to separate the triangle. And when I do, I'm going to end up with a small triangle that looks like this. And I'm only going to put the necessary information. And then when I separate the bigger one, 4 plus 6 on the side becomes 10. Then I have 5. So then that's going to give us our proportion of 4 over x, is equal to 10 over 5. So when I cross multiply, we get 10x is equal to 20. This ends up being pretty on this one. It's going to be 2. X equals 2. Okay, going on to number 3. Number 3 looks pretty similar as number 2. So for my sides, I can simply say 5 over 4 is equal to 9 over c. So 5 over 4 is equal to 9 over c. And when I cross multiply, we get 5c is equal to 4 times 9 is 36. And when I divide it by 5, notice my c value is simply 36 over 5. And I can't find a value that's going to divide both the top and the bottom, so I will leave that as it is. For my a value, the same thing as the previous, I would separate them. So here's my small triangle, here's my bigger triangle. My small one has, since I have to find a, I'm going to use 5 and 7. And I'm not using 9 because I don't want to include the c in case I messed up over here. And for 5 plus 4 together is going to give me 9. And then I have my a. For the a, I'm going to use x. So it doesn't look like a 9. So when I cross multiply, we get 5 over 7 is equal to 9 over x, which is, 5x is equal to 63. And when I divide it by 5, there's really not a number that I can divide the top and the bottom by, so I will leave it as 63 over 5. Okay, number 4 was something that was very important on our notes on, I think, 8.3. These are similar, yes. And we have by side angle side. So I'm going to go ahead and say these angles are congruent because vertical angles are congruent. And if you also look at this, this is a twisted triangle. Twisted triangle. Meaning 9 corresponds to 3, and then the 15 corresponds to 5. And if you notice, the ratios are the same. So this would be side angle side similarity. And it really depends on which direction you go for. So if I go from 5 to 15, it's going to cost my simplified value as what is the scale factor would either be 1/3, or if I go from small to big, or big to small, it could also be 3-to-1. It really depends. So then it says to find the value of x. To find the value of x, I know I'm going from big to small, and this is my smaller fraction. So I'm going to say 11 times 1/3, which gives me 11/3. If you wanted, here's what you could do. You could have said x over 3 is equal to 9 over 11. We'll get the exact same answer. You could have also done x over 5 is equal to 11 over 15. We'll get the exact same answer. Okay, going on to the bottom then. So number 5 gave us a ratio. Let's see. I'm going to see which part looks easier. I feel like this expression is smaller and that expression is smaller. And that's pertaining to AB is 5 here. BC is 7 here. So I'm going to say 5 over 7 is equal to, 5 is part of AB, so I need to be consistent and use 4x minus 2. BC is part of 7, or 7 is part of BC, which is 5x plus 2. And then when I cross multiply, I'm going to get, this is going to involve a little bit more work. 5 times 5x plus 2 is equal to 7 times 4x minus 2. So that's going to give us 25x plus 10 is equal to 28x minus 14. And I think I want to move the 25 over to make this a 3x and move that over, which gives me 24. And we know my x has to be 8. And it says to find the length of each side, so I'm going to plug it in here. So when I plug in 8 in here, that's going to give me 5 times 8, which is 40. 40 plus 2, 42. And then 8 into this guy over here is going to give me 4 times 8 is it 32? I'm going to double check. So 32 minus 2, it's going to give me 30. And then we have 9 times 8 is 72 minus 6 should be 66. So each side would be 30, 42, and 66. For number 6, if I have a triangle that's got one angle bisected, the following is always true. So imagine drawing a heart. So I'm going to start with the variable x just because we have x over 22. So if I go from here to here, I have to go from 4 to 15. So when I cross multiply, we get 15x. That should give me 88. And when I divide it by 15, I don't think there's anything that's divisible on both. So I'm going to leave that as it is. And that will be our final answer. Okay, now let's go on to the back. Okay, number 7, we have a similar triangle again. So this means they are similar to each other, so we can find the scale factor. Now, it's always new over old, unless I say specify otherwise. So we're going to do 20 over 8. And I know I can divide it by 4 on both. So 20 divided by 4 is 5. 8 divided by 4 is 2. My scale factor, which is denoted by k value typically, is 5 over 2. But if you go from right to left, it's going to be 2 over 5. And then it says perimeter of the larger one is 90. So I'm going to also write on here, it could also be depending on which direction, or 2 over 5. And I want the smaller one. That's my goal. If that's my goal, I have to ask myself, is 5 over 2 great or smaller, or 2 over 5 smaller? 2 over 5 is smaller. So I'm going to say 90 times 2/5 is equal to, I would do 90 divided by 5. That's going to give me 18 over 1. And 18 times 2 is going to give me 36. Here's what else you can also do. You could have done 2 over 5 is equal to, and because 90 is my larger one and 5 is my larger number than 2, that can go on the bottom, and you put the x, and we'll get the exact same answer. So pick and choose whichever one you want. For number 8, we know as long as the two lines are parallel, and we know my sides are going to be proportional, so I'm going to say x over 14. So if I go from left to right, I need to go from left to right here as well, which is 9 over 21. And when I cross multiply, That's gonna give me 21x is equal to 9 times 14 should be 126. But do double check by multiplying 14 times 9 on the side. There's nothing wrong with doing this. And then when I divide it by 21, the cool thing is I know 2 is divisible by 12 and 1 is divisible by 6, and that happens to be 6 for both. So 21 times 6 will give you 126. And it says to find x, and we have. Okay, number 9. It says corresponding two similar polygons are 10 centimeters and 25 centimeters. It's saying that the area of the smaller one is given. So I'm going to say on here, we have centimeter squared because they gave us that. And we have 10 to 25. I think I'm going to go ahead and simplify this because working with smaller numbers is easier. Instead of 10 to 25, I can divide both by 5 and say 2 to 5 centimeters. And because I want the unit to be centimeters squared, I have to square this whole thing. So when I do, I get 4 to 25. And then I can set my proportion. So the centimeters squared gives me 4 over 25. It says the area of the smaller one is 48, and 4 is smaller than 25, so 48 has to go on top. So when I cross multiply, we get 4x is equal to, again, do the tedious math on the side. And I'm going to double check. Actually, there's an easier way on this one. Let's take an easier way. I see a different method. 4 goes into 48 exactly 12 times. So I'm going to say times 12. So that means 25 times 12, and I should use the symbolic notation dot for the multiplication. It's going to give us value of 300 centimeters squared. And again, 4 over 25 was centimeters squared. What I gave you was centimeters squared, so our final answer is also centimeters squared. The units got to match. If you did your cross multiplying, it'll be more work on your end, but in the end, we're both going to get 300 centimeters squared. Okay, next one on number 10.